Hello, everyone. We are live on all platforms now. Thank you so much and quite kindly for watching. Hopefully nothing breaks. Hopefully nothing crazy happens today. I do appreciate you joining me because we're going to be getting into the drama from last week, and there is a metric ton of news that we need to go over. So we're going to be covering all of that here in just a little bit. I don't do countdown timers anymore. Everybody kept complaining about it. I'm like, fine, I'll just go live on YouTube last. I'll get everything else set up and I'll flip the script and go live on YouTube last. So here we are. Good to see you, chat. Yeah, no timer. Let's go. We just get right into it right away. But you got to watch me like tweet stuff sometimes. I don't think I need to tweet opinion. The Xbox Game Pass panic was completely overblown. It's my personal account. So boom, there. So, yep. Oh, the thumb's really spicy. I forgot how spicy I made the thumb this time. So yeah, I think opening up with a little bit of music and just sort of chilling and doing it that way works quite well. Good to see you, Luke. For some reason, the YouTube chat is not coming through. So let's just... I should have a whole bunch of YouTube messages. I'm not seeing anything. Good to see everybody. I do see people on the other platforms chatting though. So yeah, stream is solid. Good to see everyone. I had a friend reach out and they're like, I won't say who, but they're like, hey, do you like not like us or something like that? And I'm like, what? You always keep blowing us off for the show. It's like, bro, I can't even get my own streams live at a consistent time frame. So I don't know. Trust me, it's not you, it's me. Just saying. Oh man, so the chat app that I normally use, it's like not functioning right now for YouTube, unfortunately. So there is a chance that I might have to, I don't know. It should be working. Yeah, it should be working. They're all there. All the chats are there. Setting. All right, whatever. Well, it's going to be a little bit seat of our pants. We'll see if the app like fixes itself. Oh, there's like a sponsorship offer here. If I took a sponsorship for a video game that you may or may not like, should I get that bag? What do you think? I want to know chat's opinion. I got YouTube, so I got Twitch, Buddha. I see you on Twitch. I see YouTube, but I had to do it a little bit weird. Not panicking. I canceled my Game Pass after the free trial. Steam method for the win. I don't know what the Steam method is, but go for it. Anyway, we have a lot of different kinds of news to get into today. The one thing on the forefront of my mind, though, was this Game Pass story. Okay, the other app finally caught up and now it's collecting everything. I really like this other app that I've been using because it helps me see the super chats and stuff when they come in. They don't like go away. They're just there and I use them. It's called, what's it called? Ground Control. It's like Stream Elements or something like that. Anyway, so we have a lot of different stuff to get into. We are going to talk about all the news from this last week, and there was a lot of stuff that happened. There was also the Stop Killing Games stuff, and I figured at the top, usually I cover the stream topic at the top, and we might as well just get into it right now. I think that the Game Pass drama wasn't coming from a place of rationality. It was coming from an emotional place, and that's a totally human thing to do. A bunch of people just got fired. I was upset. The industry was upset. People who work at Xbox were upset, and they just wanted to blame something. I absolutely understand that. But one thing that sort of got caught in the crossfire was Game Pass. People were saying it's not profitable. There was the Christopher Dring tweet, and then Dring had to take, we're going to kill the music here. Oops, sorry. We were going to kill the music anyway. So Christopher Dring had to come out. He had to like walk back what he initially said. He had to change his stance. It was like this whole thing. So I think everybody, especially like, I recognize that my audience is a little bit more Xbox centric than most. Everybody was feeling the burn, so to speak, about all of these people losing their jobs. And it's upsetting. I think it's upsetting to anybody with you know, just a general understanding of how much that impacts a human being when they're laid off. A lot of people were like, why didn't you call out the fact that I got laid off from my whatever job, or whataboutisms? You know, there were a lot of whataboutisms out there directed at me also. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know about every layoff that happens on planet Earth, but I think we can all agree that getting laid off sucks. I don't care if you work at Microsoft. I don't care where you work. It's a shitty thing to have happen in your life. It sucks. It can be really detrimental to your confidence levels. It can hurt an individual severely. It's tough to get over. But eventually, most people get back on that horse, get back out there, and land on their feet somewhere else. That's not what we're talking about today, though. So all of that is absolutely true, and I understand the emotional reaction. I don't really hold that against anybody. Like, shots are fired all over the place, right? The one thing that I didn't agree with, though, that I saw happen was that everybody blamed Game Pass for the problems of the video game industry. And there was this guy, Jacob Novak, who came out, who claims to work at Square Enix. I didn't verify this, but I saw some other people react to his content. So I thought we could take a look at it and sort of discuss what's actually happening in the industry. Because I think if we don't take an honest, earnest look at what's going on, history is doomed to repeat itself, and people will just parrot the same talking points. And to be fair, the people who were upset were people who worked at Microsoft. So I get it. These are employees. I mean, I reported on it. It makes sense why you would cover that particular topic. But let's talk about, now that like the smoke is cleared, I think everybody's thinking a little bit more rationally and thinking about it. Layoffs are happening across the industry. I want to make it clear, I do not defend the layoffs that Microsoft has had to do. They're nearly a $4 trillion company, and what they are doing, to be clear, is they are investing less in gaming, and they're investing $80 billion into AI. That's the report from the Seattle Times. That makes sense. Gaming isn't growing enough for Xbox. You know what is? AI. It's growing at crazy levels. The projected returns on AI for these companies are massive, and gaming flatlined. It flatlined after COVID. Maybe there's still a little bit of growth. It's not like there's no money in gaming or anything anymore either. So I want to encourage everybody who watches, stop believing the corporations. Don't believe the corporation talking points. Question everything. Even the Game Pass stuff. Yes, it's really, really good that you're questioning it, because we were able to actually get clarification from Microsoft's perspective and have a better understanding of, like, by 1%, about how that whole system works. But one thing we got to stop buying is that, oh, it's so hard. We really need to charge you money. We need to charge you more money for everything because it's your fault somehow that these companies can't figure out how to budget. The idea that Diablo 4, as a specific example, needed 9,000 people on it is ludicrous. There's a reason that these companies are having challenges. It's because they're not effectively, as leaders, project managing their companies. And it's out of control. So when I talk about the Sony video, for example, where I'm like, hey, Sony literally had this exact same conversation, a week ago? And then Microsoft has all these layoffs. And it's not like it's unique. It's more because Microsoft employs, we found it in that video, 21,000 people in the gaming branch. That's the estimate. And PlayStation, who is trouncing them, has fewer employees total under their umbrella than Microsoft. So there's a lot going on here, and I want to be extra clear. I hold leadership responsible. Where's the Stephen Totilo thing? Now, Stephen Totilo likes to do this thing. Stephen Totilo likes to do this thing where he shows the disparity between a worker, somebody that just wants to make games and loves making games, right? Comparing pay for Microsoft's boss and the company's workers. So he makes these charts that are vertical in nature so that you can get an idea of what the CEO makes. Microsoft CEO compensation recorded $79 million versus the employees. And as I tell you a little bit more about this, maybe it will start to sink in that maybe, just maybe, we should be holding leadership of these giant corporations accountable every single time there is a layoff at a company. I don't care if it's EA. I don't care if it's Sony. I don't care if it's Microsoft or Xbox or anybody else. If you need to fire employees to make your bottom line make sense, something is wrong in your equation. And in Microsoft's situation, I have to imagine the budget for Diablo 4 might have been a small part of that. Just my 2 cents. But as this line continues to go down, maybe compensation levels also don't really make sense, do they? They don't. We're all here fighting about Xbox Game Pass and employees and like the structure of the company and how everything works. And meanwhile, the employees are making peanuts compared to what leadership is. So who do I hold accountable? Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, Matt Booty, and Satya Nadella, of course. That's leadership. At Sony, it's Herman Hulst, Hiroki Totoki, and Nishino-san. That's who I hold accountable at Sony, because it's their responsibility to hire an appropriate amount of people, to budget the marketing appropriately, and to look at their workflows and their structures and structure them in a way that makes sense. And this doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. So the cheapest thing you can cut in any business is people. So if you need to make a spreadsheet or whatever makes sense, that's where you start. And it's unfortunate. That's the reality of business. But if you want to send heat somewhere, send it to the people at the top of this chart. That's who should get the heat at the end of the day. So we're talking about Xbox Game Pass. Yeah, I think I can highlight a few dots on this chart that might also be worth, I don't know, cutting in half, taking a peek at. Here, I'm going to spoil it for you. It goes, oh, here we go. We got the lowest point. We got to go down a little bit more. Here's the employees. These aren't like small salaries. This is $194,000 a year on average. It's not like a small amount. Hold leadership accountable. They are the ones that are supposed to make everything function. And when they don't pay attention to a studio working on Perfect Dark for 7 years and no progress has been made, that's on the leadership of the studio and the leadership of the company. Make no mistake. And if the game doesn't work and it doesn't land and the creative vision doesn't work, that should have been killed 3 or 4 years in. You can't kill it 7, 8 years into a project. On the bright side, those people had gainful employment for 7 or 8 years, I guess, if they stuck with the company. But then the game doesn't see the light of day, and everybody gets laid off. So anyway, when I think about this, I think about that chart. I think about these insane budgets for AAA games and what's being spent here. Somebody said 9,000 staff at 150,000 a year each is 135 billion. Let's do some math here. Let's check the math. Let's say 175,000 a year. That's a good salary, right? Times 12 months in a year. That's $2.1 million per person. No, wait. That's for 12 years of employment. What? Oh, 9,000 employees. Okay. Yeah, 9,000 employees at 170. Okay, so 100. Let me see here. So let's say every employee makes $175,000 a year. This is not accurate. Times 9,000 employees. Yeah, that's $1.575 billion. So it's just like, that's not like the average salary would be what, 80? It'd be like $80,000, right? On average. Not everybody's going to be making $195,000 a year, 175 or whatever. Let's say it averages out between high and low around 80. They're in the California area, times 9,000 employees. That's still $720 million a year, right? But anyway, that's not really the point I'm trying to make. That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money. But you don't need 9,000 people to make Diablo 4. Go look at what Path of Exile was made with. It was made with like 20 dudes in the basement, right? I'm exaggerating, but yeah. So there's this laser focus on Xbox Game Pass, and the point that I was actually trying to get to was one from Jacob Navok here. And I wanted to talk about this thread. Somebody sent me a DM, sorry. It's really distracting when that happens. Let me know if the stream breaks. So Jacob Navok talked about what is actually going on here. And I just want to bring up a post from a few years back that I had. And I've brought this up before on the stream. There was an argument being made that $100 makes sense. And I said, no, it doesn't. Say game prices are raised to $100. You've now limited how many people can afford your game and your sales. I don't think raising game prices will even make a dent in the problem because it becomes cost prohibitive at some point. Now, Cromwell, this is back in 2024. So this is more than a year ago. The conventional logic is that players are not as price sensitive as people think, but this applies to 40 to 60. They say it doesn't make a difference leaping to 100 when quality can't be trusted would be suicide, especially with the decline of marketing avenues. Would you trust EA to raise all their games to $100? I would not. Would you trust Ubisoft if all of their games were suddenly $100? Hell no. I would be waiting for reviews of those games, and then I would wait even longer until there was a sale. There's like no world where they're going to make that work. And even Xbox, even Microsoft or PlayStation, you know who I trust to make a $100 game? I could probably name them on one hand. Rockstar, Hideo Kojima. Maybe a Zelda game. I don't know. Nintendo's getting there, everybody, though. Nintendo's only at 80 right now. But I can name like 2 creators who I would feel confident giving $100 and feeling like, oh yeah, I could probably recoup my time and my excitement about that project. The problem with a more modest inflation increase to $80, which we're now in, by the way, is that you're still fighting for screen time. That's right. And then somebody put out a big study about this not that long after, showing that, you know what everybody's playing right now? Roblox, Fortnite, Minecraft. Those games, and I believe it's those 3, there might be one that I'm missing. Those 3 games alone, they get 60% of the market. Period. All up. So that's just gone. You don't get a piece of that. And those games are free. All 3 of those are free. RuneScape, I believe, is free. I don't know. Maybe somebody who plays RuneScape can tell me. So, though operationally viable, raising is antithetical to screen time problem also. This is essentially what's so messy about the industry at the moment. You need to invest much larger sums to compete, but it's for screen time and less for shelf space. There's a lot less screen time than there ever was shelf space. So risk is higher than ever. Crazy levels. And I said, you said it better than I would have. It's a multifaceted issue. It's a hot mess of bleeding talent. We were talking about this in 2024. Why is Game Pass the thing that people are going after? The issue is you have 3 free-to-play games taking up 60% of the entire market. There's fewer people covering games than ever before. So the people that you go to is more limited than ever before. And I am seeing more independent creators like myself put forth more effort into their content. So I think that's going to be a new wave that we are going to continue to see. But guess what? Not everybody's going to be able to make a newsletter or even see debatable success like I have. Like I read the comments online, right? But I'm proud of where I'm at currently. JD says, how many jobs did Xbox actually cut? Shutting down a studio and cutting 1.5 doesn't add up to 9,000. Seeing it's closer to 1,500. We actually don't have any clear picture of how many jobs were realistically impacted by the decisions that they made. So we don't know, but it's not 9,000. And the way that it's covered, you would think it was 9,000, right? How many people in chat knew that? How many people in chat realized that it wasn't 9,000 Xbox employees? Xbox was only 500. So it's comparable to what PlayStation did Was it this year? XECO Bailey says, Destin, I think you should still sell cookies. I never got to try one. Bro, in California, it's $800 just to have the right to own a business. It's just $800 to have an LLC or whatever. And we have 2 kids. Like, I can't even get my streams on time. I'm a mess. So yeah, I don't think the cookies are coming back, unfortunately. Kai says, just tuning in. Hi, Destin. Have a good day. Thank you for the super chat. And then Miguel says, the numbers don't lie. They spell disaster, from Scott Steiner. I don't have full context to what you're saying, but yeah. So anyway, that was my thread with Cromwell in 2024. And then what happens a few days after all of the Game Pass drama? Matt Piscatella puts out the numbers. And what did the numbers say? Video games, year on year, total spend increased by 1%. Elden Ring was number 1, followed by Doom and Forza. PS5 sales increased 3% year on year. Wait, weren't Doom and Forza on Xbox Game Pass? That doesn't make any sense. Selling? That's not players. Weird. Switch was number 2 and Xbox was number 3. Xbox Series X and S sales dropped 30%. That's why they're not betting on the console anymore, if you were wondering. Switch sales dropped 44%. We'll see that change when the Switch 2 comes out. PS5 console split 51% disc, 49% digital. Xbox is 21% disc, 79% digital. Subscription spending reached all-time monthly high at $600 million. PS5 DualSense had a great controller released, and that Battlefront 2 ended up hitting the number 5 in bestsellers. The only point I'm really trying to make is that the problems aren't Game Pass. Game Pass has been this boogeyman of the industry for so long, and it's frustrating to me to see that. I do like it as a service. Obviously, I think anybody who's using it, they really, really like the service. They like having all those games available to them. And I think I always take it with a grain of salt when people look at the service and they think it's going to be problematic. The theory is, this is the theory that was discussed last week. The theory is that Xbox is going to do so well with Game Pass that they will obliterate the competition. That everybody else is just going to pack up shop and go home. Does anybody even think that that's ever going to happen? It's just crazy for me to think. And it's just, you don't think PlayStation would try the same thing? Seriously. Like, that's what people were saying. That's what the former employee was saying. That he believes that Xbox Game Pass will either fail and they'll stop supporting it, or it will do so well that it will destroy everything. I think both of those are completely hyperbolic. I think it's a good service. I think maybe they would scale it back. I don't know that they would just close up shop. Or maybe Game Pass, I would undoubtedly say that Game Pass might increase its price like even another $5. And then you only get games at a slower cadence, if that's what they ended up choosing to do. But I don't think it's going to outright go away and they're just going to close the whole division. That would be pretty shocking. And then there's no conversation about Nintendo's practices. There's no conversation about PlayStation's practices in the subscription space. PlayStation offers a great service. PlayStation Plus is really good. You get this great catalog of games. They just added Cyberpunk to the service and some other good stuff. So PlayStation fans are happy about that, or people that are just signing up to PlayStation Plus. You also have Nintendo. Nintendo's the worst one, in my personal opinion. In order to play games on your Switch 2 from the NES, from the GameCube, from all these eras, you have a required internet connection and subscription that you have to purchase. Otherwise, you just don't get access to your games. Nico says, you know you're comparing apples to oranges here. They're all subscription services. Did you miss the part where subscription services are at an all-time high at 600 million a year? Or did you miss the part where the theory is that Xbox Game Pass is going to do so well that it's going to destroy the entire games industry? It's just preposterous, in my opinion. It's ridiculous. There's no world where any of that happens. If Nintendo can refuse to sell you their games, refuse to let you download them, it's like, I think that's way more problematic. And now people are buying used Nintendo games and getting their accounts bricked that you have to call to correct it. It's like, hey, like I just bought this game. I don't know what the other person did, but that's happening. So like, if you don't want Game Pass anymore, like I don't care if you want Game Pass or not, but this idea that it's going to destroy the industry is just ridiculous. I think it's emotional. I think it's an emotional response to a difficult time period. And obviously we should be targeting leadership and the shortcomings of leadership throughout their tenure at Xbox to make Xbox a successful initiative, so to speak, within the Microsoft family. I don't know how else to say it. Like that stuff should be called out. But I just don't see some world where Game Pass destroys everything. Let's take some super chats here. There was one about H-1B workers. Why haven't said the layoff American workers but hire H-1B workers? So I didn't read into that, but apparently Microsoft is hiring H-1B workers, but I don't see any, like, that's a thing happening. I don't know much more about it beyond that, and I haven't thought about it too much, but I have heard that. Thank you for the super chat. Smoke says, why is the first party thing not in Game Pass budget such a shocking revelation? Do people think Game Pass funds all Xbox publishing funds first party? I absolutely agree with that. Like Dring pointed out that, oh, like first party games aren't accounted into Xbox Game Pass. Like, yeah, you don't, that doesn't really make sense. Like, why would you do it that way? Right? Hey, are we going to make this game or not? Yes, we're going to make this game. Okay, well, Game Pass has to foot the bill. They still sell the game. There's still microtransactions in the game that they profit from. Two, like, and I believe it was more than two. If we go to Matt Piscatella's report, like 4 of the top games on PlayStation were Xbox games. Let's see here. These are the top games for Steam. You got number 5, The Elder Scrolls Remastered. These are sales. These are sales, everybody. So that's Steam. That's an Xbox owned IP. This is, wait. Steam games ranked by MAU. This is games played on PlayStation, Call of Duty, Minecraft, both on Game Pass, by the way. And then these are the games on Xbox. Call of Duty, Minecraft, Doom the Dark Ages, Elder Scrolls, Forza. And then there was a sales chart he released also about like the top games, and like 4 of them were Xbox games. So this idea that games don't sell or something like that. I'm trying to find the sales chart. Anyway, it's just not accurate. So yeah, it's like Microsoft had to come out, clarify their stance on Game Pass, explain why they don't include first party revenue. It's because they don't make what games they're going to make. They don't make the decision about what games they're going to create based on whether or not it will be in Game Pass. They decide, do we want to make this or not? Yes, we do. It goes in on Game Pass, but that budget doesn't get allocated to Game Pass, is my understanding of the situation. 7 of the top paid games on that list are on Game Pass. So yeah, so like, and just off the top of my head, we know the Elder Scrolls remake was like the top paid game. We know that Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which is on Game Pass, was a top game. So it's just not it's just not true. Somebody would have to like lay it out much more clear to me and explain, hey, 7 of the games are on Game Pass and they're still the top sold games. Seems like a win-win to me. Angel says 35 million subs. Oh yeah, I did this math last week. He's saying it's 4.2 billion to 8.4 billion a year. It's a lot of money. Yeah, I estimated they're at like 5 billion. Like if you take the lowest end and the highest end, the estimated revenue just from the subscription is about 5 billion a year. And then you extrapolate beyond that, you're like, okay, well, let's say they make from sales, because people still buy those games. They make more revenue from sales. They make revenue from DLC. They make revenue from like all of that stuff adds up. And Microsoft has said, even before they were going to PlayStation, Xbox Game Pass is sustainable. It's a sustainable business model. And then they're on PlayStation, and Dring and his retraction is like, well, I guess now because they're on PlayStation, it's sustainable. No, it was sustainable before it was on PlayStation. So, I mean, does it hurt that 3 or 4 of the top games on PlayStation are Xbox games? Sure doesn't. I didn't skip your super chat. I got you. $10. Thank you, Gear. Or Lord Zero. Remember when used games were called harmful and unsustainable by the industry? Anything that's good for the consumer always comes under attack. If Game Pass went away, they would attack something else. It's a great point. You know what else used to come under attack? Steam sales. He's absolutely right. There was this whole initiative to figure out how to stop letting people sell their used games, and developers would complain that they didn't get a cut of the used game sale. Now, I understand their perspective, but as a consumer, I don't care. I'm done with the game. It's my thing. I want to sell it now. And they wanted to lobby to stop that. And the government's like, get the fuck out of here. Pardon my language. I know people don't like it when I swear. I try and keep it clean for the kids, for the kiddos. Hey, it looks like that game you really enjoyed. You're trying to sell it and recoup some of your finances. Sorry, we're not going to allow that. Yeah. So what was it? It was used games. It was Game Pass. That's the new one. Oh, Game Pass is going to kill the industry. It's not the first time we've heard this story. So be as critical as you want against Microsoft. Make no mistake. I get it. I was very critical this last week. They deserve it. They failed, right? They failed with Perfect Dark. They shouldn't have marketed it last year. They should have shut that studio down a few years back. I mean, like, I don't think it's kind to keep a failing project going because you give people hope, right? If it's not working, stop. I think they could have handled the layoffs way better than they did also. Did I miss any super chats here? No, I think I got them all. Yeah, I don't know about the H-1B worker thing. Like, I've seen some people comment about that. It probably is a cost-cutting measure at the end of the day, but I don't know enough about, like, do H-1B visas, like, do they cost a lot? How much those people make? And there's been a lot of opinions about that. I'm not going to comment on it because I'm not well versed enough to comment on it. So all of that's happening. And there's two laws that have the video game industry quaking in their boots right now. And I love to see it. I love seeing the worst offenders come together to complain about stop killing games. It has been my favorite thing. Yes, you can sweat a little bit for a change. It feels so good to see you writing a letter filled full of lies to try and stop this initiative. Now, if you haven't heard about Stop Killing Games, it is an initiative where when you buy a game, the company behind said game can't just shut off the servers and make your product worthless. They have to figure out a way where you could create a private server or still access that product offline. And they hate this idea. There's been this drama with this streamer pirate software. There's been this drama with this lobby group. Let's read this story about the lobby group and what they said. The EU Lobbying Association, responsible for the video game industry, has responded to the Stop Killing Games petition and has suggested that, among other objections, forcing companies to support online games perpetually would make live service titles too expensive to develop. That's not even what they're saying. That is not what it says in the ask from people. Don't believe this line. It's BS. It's not true. They're saying, let us foot the bill for server costs so that we can still access our products if we want to. There's no ask for the companies to pay for servers. So that we're what, one sentence into the article? That's not true. Matthew Garcia says, think Fable is still coming? They said everything show was safe, and I don't recall Fable showing. Ooh. I mean, it's a good call. I do think Fable is safe because they have some like A-list actors tied to that thing. But yeah. For example, the movement wants to enshrine in consumer law that games can't be taken offline with no offline alternative, such as The Crew, Concord, and Multiverses. An increasing number of video games are sold effectively as goods with no stated expiration date, but designed to be completely unplayable as soon as support from the publisher ends, reads a statement from the group. This practice is a form of planned obsolescence and is not only detrimental to customers, but makes preservation effectively impossible. A petition launched by the group aimed at the EU has gained over 1.2 million signatures at the time of this writing, which has prompted lobbying group Video Games Europe to respond. We appreciate the passion of our community. However, the decision to discontinue online services is multifaceted, never taken lightly, and must be an option for companies when an online experience is no longer commercially viable, reads a statement from Video Games Europe. Not good enough. You're not going to get out of this one. You're going to have to figure it out. We understand that it can be disappointing for players, but when it does happen, the industry ensures that players are given fair notice of the prospective changes in compliance with local consumer protection laws. The statement also addresses the common argument from players that suggests companies should allow players to run private servers once all official means of playing an online game have ceased. Private servers are not always a viable alternative option for players, as the protections we put in place to secure players' data, remove illegal content, and combat unsafe community content would not exist and would leave right holders liable. Guess you better figure that one out. Like they're not getting out of this. It's going before people who make laws. And this isn't the only one that's putting pressure on video game companies. There's another one about loot boxes and microtransactions needing to be more clear. So there's a lot going on that is good for us and bad for them. And I say it's about damn time the pendulum is swung the other way, in my opinion. They have gotten away with so many anti-consumer practices that finally somebody said enough is enough, and this could actually hold them accountable for what they sold us. In addition, many titles are designed from the ground up to be online only. In effect, these proposals would curtail developer choice by making these video games prohibitively expensive to create. I don't care. Figure it out. Period. You've created a system that completely benefits you and hurts everyone else. It only benefits you. If I buy an orange and I don't want to eat it for a day or two, you can't come into my house and take the orange. It's my orange. Right? I don't care. Sorry, EA. Sorry, Ubisoft. And like, you're not talking to the employees. I think the weirdest thing ever is when the people who make games go to bat for the company that's probably going to fire them in 2 years in massive layoffs. You got to stop doing that. We can be unified in the fact that I want your work, your life's work, to be available in perpetuity. Why is this a us versus you thing? We should be holding hands and saying, you know what, Satya? F your $80 million salary this year. That's my hot take on the situation. In 2024, Velan Studios director of marketing Josh Harrison said that developers who shut down live titles should consider releasing a modified version that supports private servers. Velan's cross-platform dodgeball game Knockout City, which released in May 2021 under the EA Originals publishing label before the studio, which also developed Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, took over publishing duties and made it free to play in 2022. Yeah, look. You seriously are trying to argue to me that you can spend $300 million making a game, $400 million in Concord's case, but you can't spend $1 million to figure out how to allow private servers after it goes offline? No, I'm sorry. Games worked this way for decades. You bought the game, and as long as it didn't physically degrade to the point that the chips no longer worked on it, I could play it. I can still go take out my Atari cartridge, put it in my Atari, get all the modifiers, and it will run. So no, this is corporate nonsense. Do not buy into it. Do not listen to this. Keep pushing. That's what I say. It's bullshit. Period. Eric says, average size games now are too large for our storage. Fair. Funny how if Game Pass landed on PlayStation, then all of a sudden it'll be revolutionary in the future of gaming. The hypocrisy is wild, says Angel. Yeah. I am glad. You know what's really funny about the whole Game Pass thing, though? Everybody's complaining about how the games are bad. And yet, what are the top paid games on PlayStation right now? Oh, a bunch of them are Xbox games? Cool. So at the end of the day, the people you see online, they are so insignificant. There's a car alarm going off outside. They are so loud, but they're full of it. because the top games are Xbox games on PlayStation. So you know who really matters? Real gamers who just want to play cool games. And yeah, as much as you don't want to admit it, Xbox games are cool too. So are PlayStation games, and so are Nintendo games. Games are cool, and real gamers like to play good games. Period. Now you can argue about the minutia of the whole situation. Like, is this one better or is that one better? Like, I think Death Stranding 2 is phenomenal. I'm having a great time with it. But I don't think there's like any reason to go beyond it. So check this out. Somebody responded to this petition who is in Parliament. A game once sold belongs to the customer. Prominent EU politician stands up for Stop Killing Games. Nikolai, a vice president of the EU Parliament, signed the Stop Killing Games petition. Y'all are cooked. It's done. Pack it up. Sorry, Sachi, you might have to shave off 0.01% so that I can play or whatever Xbox game ends up having dedicated servers. Who's the guy at EA? Church? Or is it Andrew? I don't even know who's CEO over at EA right now. Yeah, sorry. You might have to like shave off 0.01% of your yearly salary so that you can set up the option for me to play offline or something. One of the vice presidents of the European Parliament, Nikolai, I'm not even going to try, publicly voiced his support for Stop Killing Games in a major win for the newly minted EU Citizens Initiative. On July 12th, that name posted a video. Well, how do I say it? Stefanupta posted a video on his Instagram story announcing that he had signed the Stop Killing Games petition and plans to continue helping the movement. They said in the video, "I stand with the people who started this citizen initiative. I signed and will continue to help them. A game once sold belongs to the customer, not the company." This is not an anti-dev thing. This isn't an it's not anti-creator. It's not anti-anything. It's an anti-corporation statement and stance, period. That's all it is. This should be like everybody. Does anybody in chat think this is bad for any reason? Anyone? Who wants to go to bat for the anti-games movement? Like, who's on Keep Killing Games team? Who's on team Keep Killing Games? Anybody? I will say it would probably be tough for something like WoW to do this. Machine XP, did you not know that a bunch of fans made vanilla WoW themselves? They did it. Some fans did it in a cave with a box of scraps. This is bullshit. They made vanilla WoW, and it was so successful that, you know what Blizzard said? We're going to sue you because you can't do that. We're going to repackage that and sell it to people as WoW Classic. So yeah, I don't care. No, I don't particularly care what David Jaffe thinks about Stop Killing Games. That's not like an anti-David Jaffe thing. He's been on the show before. Yeah. Who cares what David Jaffe thinks? I don't care what Thor thinks. I don't care what David Jaffe thinks. I don't care what anybody in wearing the corporate cap or benefiting from the corporate cap has to say about video games that were sold and what the consumer can do with their product. I'm very on the consumer side in like every situation. too large for storage is funny because most of the giant gigabyte size is because uncompressed 4K cutscenes are in the code. Exactly. Remember before when I was talking about optimizations? Well, they can only do so much to stop for the Stop Killing Games movement at the moment. His support could be crucial, or rather when Stop Killing Games reaches the parliament floor. As a member of the European Parliament, S will be able to help make the case for Stop Killing Games if it comes to a debate. Other EU politicians who may not have been paying attention to Stop Killing Games before will certainly have to take notice of it now too. While the road from citizens' initiative to actual legislation is long and not necessarily guaranteed, Stop Killing Games is off to a good start with a lot of momentum behind it. It has already cleared the 1 million minimum signatures required to become an official citizens' initiative, but still needs to meet minimum thresholds for some EU nations. After hitting those minimums, it will need to go through the process of verifying all those signatures before getting a meeting with the European Commission. That's why the guy running the thing has repeatedly said, don't stop signing the petition. Keep signing it. Because there's a very real chance that some of those signatures aren't real. And they may need to verify it. And then if they haven't hit the signature threshold, it doesn't go to Parliament. I am so happy to see that all the mega corporations got together and they're like, oh, this is actually bad for all these reasons. Why do I give a shit what you think is bad? You have tried every way possible to monetize me for a decade plus. You have tried every way possible to release a game that's not finished or complete on day one. You rely on day one patches. You rely on every predatory practice possible. There's seminars out there of people like teaching you how to psychologically manipulate your consumers so that you can sell them more microtransactions. And now gamers have got together and 1 million of them have signed a petition saying, hey, we kind of want to be able to play the games that you and your team have created, even after you decide to shut down servers. And now they're like, oh, you don't get it. F you. Nope. I get it. I want to own my games. And I don't mean so that I can like copy them and distribute them. I want to be able to play on my NES, pop in my Mario game and play Mario. If I want to sell my NES with that functional copy of Mario, I want to be able to do that. My PS4 back there with PT still installed on it, I wish I could have just had that game and been able to install it on whatever. So I'm sorry, corporation, but no, I don't really give a shit what you have to say anymore. Period. There's not a lot of nuance to my take here. I'm 100% against you on this one. People have a right to own something sold to them. If you sell me an orange and I want to eat it 2 days after you sold it to me, you cannot come into my house and take it. It has been sold. Period. It's mine now. F that. C Marvel says, finally, dude, someone is talking the truth. It's gotten out of hand. It's gotten so anti-player. Like, this is where my passion came from in the video that the industry tried to roast me for. You had people working at the companies who are making phenomenal games going to bat for the corporation. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? This isn't about an independent developer. This isn't about anything. Why are you going to bat for practices that erode and damage trust between player and people making the games? Yeah, don't take my orange. I bought it. Exactly. And like, I'm using an orange as a very simple to understand example, but like, it's very clear. Do you know someone in, oh, and did you see the story where Ubisoft, or was it Ubisoft or Nintendo was like, you have to destroy your games? Like what, who, has the balls to go online and say, you have to destroy your games? We got to bring that story up. Yeah, it's Ubisoft. No, Ubisoft, I'm not going to do that. Destroy all copies. No, Ubisoft, I'm not going to burn my physical collection just because you don't care about your own history. I got to find the source on that. Ubisoft's EULA clause ordering you to destroy your games isn't new, nor is it unique. Okay, so this is just like a regular thing in EULA. It's just like, no, we're not going to do that. Ubisoft's EULA includes a clause that orders you to destroy its games if service for them ends. Come on, man. They're so brazen. It's insane. No, I'm not going to destroy my games ever. Come on. So here's what's going to happen. Here's the resolution to the whole stop killing games and Xbox Game Pass criticism and everything. Legislators are going to start to understand the gamers and players and consumers' perspective better than ever before, because legislators are getting younger and they are not going to let it continue. So people in the games industry who are profiting off of practices like this, and it's not everybody, they're going to be paying the price. Period. That's what's going to happen. Oh, yeah. Sorry, everybody. You have to destroy your Assassin's Creed 1 disc. No. Call the cops. Like, I'm not going to destroy all my games. It's just crazy talk. I have a whole bunch of tabs open here. Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent. It's been sort of a crazy news week, but I'm a little riled up about it. Initially I was riled up about the Game Pass thing just because it's so ridiculous. And then it's like the Ubisoft EULA came out, and apparently that's like old news. It's always just been like that. But yeah, the Game Pass thing, it just came from an emotional place. I completely understand that. And it is what it is, but hell no. Yeah, you missed the very spicy how long we've been live. You missed a very, very spicy intro. We've been live for an hour, and it's just me going off on the industry, basically. And you know what? I really mean that. Where do we start? Games coming out where characters don't appear. Why is that okay? Like, why does that get a pass? Why are games allowed to come out without functioning mechanics? Oh, you want to have day one patches? No, I don't. Whatever you release on the disc should work. You have become so complacent in your craft that you cannot even release a game on day one that has basic functionality. And that's incredibly infuriating to me. You can tell me your perspective on that, but I think you're wrong. And I'm not going to change my mind on that. Ever. Sure, you can tell me why it's so great that you can make a patch for your game for day one. But what does that mean for the game on the disc? For the few that still have the game on the disc? Angel Barron says, crazy thing is everything is going digital. It's like you're renting the game for $70, and if they want to do what you said, they'll just take away the keys. Exactly. And check this out. This is why I was concerned about what Nintendo was doing with the Switch, because now people are getting banned for buying used games. There's a reason for it, but doesn't this concern you a little bit? Earlier this week, a Nintendo Switch 2 user took to social media to warn folks against buying used Nintendo Switch games to use in their Nintendo Switch 2. This topic surfaced after one user was banned from Nintendo Online after downloading patches for a series of Switch 1 games they'd bought from the Facebook Marketplace. This immediately sent ripples of concern through the Nintendo community, with users far and wide writhing with worry that their secondhand game cards would see them stripped of their Nintendo Online privileges. Simple solution: got banned and unbanned after simply downloading patches for 4 Switch 1 games I bought from Facebook Marketplace. If you get banned, go to this website and under talk to a human, select start chat. It's fast, painless, and you get a live person helping you. This is an insane level of overreach, in my opinion, from the Nintendo's part. These aren't pirated games. These aren't games that had something happen weird with them. Somebody did something bad on their Switch 2, and Nintendo knows all the games that they owned. That person's like, well, I'm blocked from ever using these games again. I'm going to sell them on Facebook Marketplace. And when that other user puts them in, they get banned. Think about how much data needed to be tracked in order for this to happen. This is out of hand. This is way too far. So you're telling me now Nintendo can brick your console, basically. I think they take it as far as kicking you offline for all your games because somebody did the test with the MiG Switch cart and they were kicked offline. But now you can't even sell those games because you've been deemed a bad boy. That's a lot. It's a gross overreach, in my opinion. So you have to be connected to the internet in order to play Switch 1 games. You have to be on your Switch 2. They won't function. They can ban you from Nintendo Online if you even borrow a game from somebody who's done something bad. And this is exactly why I was expressing concern. Like, how can anyone hear that and be like, yeah, base Nintendo? Like, I'm telling you, this stop killing games thing could be one of the most important pieces of legislature ever for gaming. And there's more stuff like that coming where finally consumers are going to get some reasonable right requests honored. And I think it's well overdue. I actually got to post my sources in here. Come on, YouTube. So anyway, yeah, I think this is way overdue. I think it's needed to happen for a very long time. And I'm really glad that we're finally seeing the results of what gamers have been expressing concern for years. Like, let's say you hated the FTC trial or not the FTC. Let's say you hate the idea that Microsoft is able to buy a company that wants to sell them. A lot of people are pissed off that Microsoft was allowed to buy Activision and they were able to fold into one. I've made my stance clear on that. One corporation wanted to sell to another corporation so all the corporations can make a lot of money. Literally every stockholder at Activision had to vote for it to be approved. If even one of them said no, then it wouldn't have gone through. The FTC failed to provide a reason why it shouldn't go through. And like, it happened, right? Like, no matter how you feel about the outcome and the layoffs and everything like that, at the end of the day, the guy who owned Activision Blizzard wanted to sell that company to Microsoft. And they agreed to it and the transaction went through. So understandably, people are upset about the layoffs and such. I get that. That makes sense. It's frustrating and sad to see. I don't want a world where if I have a successful business and I no longer want to run that business, I just have to stay there till I die or shut it. Like, what would the alternative be? I just shut it down. I can't sell it. I'm not allowed to make any profit off the business that I spent 20 years building. I just have to shut it down, everybody. All right, well, I want to stop. So, like it just doesn't make any sense to me. Well, that's not what we're arguing for. No, like Bobby Kotick, like nobody likes Bobby Kotick really, right? But the guy he wanted to sell his business to Microsoft. Everybody at the company wanted to sell the business to Microsoft. So it happened. So like that whole argument is just super weird to me. Machine XP celebrates 6-month membership. To be honest, the ABK deal doesn't seem to have major hits to the game output and quality. I mean, yeah, they canceled one of the Blizzard games though, Machine XP. Appreciate you supporting the channel, by the way. And Matthew says, kind of reminds me of Xbox One initial plans. Yeah. The initial plans for Xbox One were actually interesting in my opinion, but people weren't ready for it. I'm glad Microsoft bought it. If PlayStation had, Call of Duty would have been exclusive to PlayStation without a second thought. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I forgot about that. What do you think would have happened to Call of Duty if PlayStation bought Activision? Yeah, they probably would have made Call of Duty exclusive. They didn't with Destiny, thankfully. They haven't with Marathon. And I wonder if part of that is... I wonder if part of the reason that they bought Bungie was so that they could hit Microsoft where it hurts if Microsoft decided to make something like Call of Duty exclusive. They're like, well, we can't buy Fortnite, but if we buy Destiny and we take that revenue away from Microsoft as a leverage chip, that is one way we can get them to keep Call of Duty multi-platform. And the other way, maybe that was the whole strategy all along. It was never about, like, let's be clear. It was never about the workers. It was never about like any of the bullshit that Jim Ryan was talking about. It was to get leverage on Microsoft. Period. That's all it ever was about. And it's so weird that they were that threatened by the third place company. But if PlayStation were to lose revenue from Call of Duty, it would have been bad for PlayStation. Does Destin play Destiny? Yeah. I mean, I'm caught up. There was like this Edge of Fate or something like that happened, and I signed on, and there's like no story stuff, so I don't give a shit. And I haven't played since Act 3 of the previous season. And then, no, Edge of Fate's the one launching on Tuesday, right? Yes, I still play Destiny. Anyway. Threatened by the $1 trillion company, sir. Yeah, but I mean, like, don't sell your company to Microsoft. Right? Nintendo laughed them out of the room. That's the really weird thing about the whole FTC thing. It's just like, Microsoft's bad. It's like, dude, Bobby Kotick was allegedly threatening to kill people in his office. Somebody unfortunately died due to the circumstances of the atmosphere there. Like, it was not doing great, for lack of a better term, to paint the picture of like what was happening at Activision Blizzard during those years. It was not wonderful. So yeah, I don't know. I don't love that there's layoffs and stuff like that. And everyone's like, oh, it's because Xbox got to buy Activision. It's like, Bobby Kotick was like threatening to kill people. Allegedly. There was the Bill Cosby hotel room that happened under Bobby Kotick. Like, did we just forget what happened a few years ago? And that's not to excuse the layoffs or the incompetence of Microsoft. Like both things can be bad, right? And that's one thing about online. It's like, it always has to be either or. And yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with that. Some Xbox Game Pass titles are now playable natively on Steam Deck. Some people were excited about this. I don't know. I thought I would share it with you. Apparently you can now on Steam Deck play them through Battle.net. So I don't think Battle.net's going away anytime soon. You can utilize your Steam Deck to be able to play Xbox Game Pass games. So that's pretty cool. And that includes stuff like World of Warcraft, some of the Call of Duty games, maybe all of them. Don't play World War II. Don't play Call of Duty World War II on your PC. Warcraft 3, Diablo 3. So like, yeah, that's just kind of a cool little update. If you have a Steam Deck. Oh man, this whole Subnautica thing, I might save that for later. See if I have the energy. I don't care about the Mr. Beast. I don't think you guys care about the Mr. Beast thing. Oh, this is a good one. Xbox story. Code, good to see you. Good to see everybody. Let's talk about this Xbox story because apparently people are a little riled up about this Xbox Halo story. Did you hear that allegedly, and this is just based off of a conversation, by the way, so this could be total nonsense, but allegedly, Halo CE Remake will only feature a campaign mode, it's claimed. Now, this is from Rebs Gaming. Rebs shared information he received from two sources connected to Halo developers regarding the Halo Combat Evolved remake. Sources have revealed that the development of Halo CE Remake began in 2023 with a planned anniversary project set for release in 2026. It has also been noted that the Halo CE Remake will feature only a campaign mode and may potentially be released on PlayStation as well. I have no one's going to agree with my take on this. I'm fine. I'm totally fine with that. I'm indifferent to whether or not the Halo campaign remake has multiplayer. Why am I indifferent to that? Because I think if you miss the multiplayer of Halo 1, you can go play it in the Master Chief Collection. It's there. Like, it already exists. They don't need to redo it again. So if you want that experience, that is available. If you want a modernized experience of that, the Halo Infinite free multiplayer, yeah, Halo Infinite multiplayer is free. It has that. So I don't see a reason to like reinvent the wheel. And like whatever they were to make, it's gonna suck. There's not gonna be a world where they're like remake the Halo CE multiplayer and it's somehow better than the Halo multiplayer in Infinite. Why split your audience when you're still supporting Halo Infinite? I think you're agreeing with me. There are so many ways to play Halo multiplayer. Yeah, so like, yeah, I don't think a Halo CE release needs multiplayer. I think it would be cool if they paired this release on PlayStation with the release of like Master Chief Collection. And it's like, this is like a slam dunk easy PR message for Microsoft, in my opinion. When they announce it officially, so as you know, Halo Studios has been working on the Halo CE remake. It will be paired with Halo Master Chief Collection, where you can experience all of the original Halo 1 maps in their former glory, now available on PlayStation 5. So like, they could sell Halo CE. I don't think it's going to be an $80 release. It's probably going to be like a $50, $60 game. Whatever they price the Oblivion remake, right? I think they would probably do something like that. And I think that at the end of the day, it needs co-op though. Is that, Matthew, is that claimed? Because I think they're just talking about PvP. Anniversary project set for release in 2026. It has also been noted that the Halo CE remake will feature only a campaign mode that may potentially be released on PlayStation. In terms of multiplayer plans, Rebs Gaming has reported that 343 Industry canceled Battle Royale mode for Halo Infinite, known as Project Tatanka, makes sense, has been handed over to Certain Affinity. The game development studio has rebranded it as a separate multiplayer game using Unreal Engine 5, which is currently codenamed Project Ecker. Rebs Gaming then refers to a recent post from Halo data miner Grunt.api that teased a title ID code for a game. When asked about its significance, the source confirmed that it pertains to Ecker and indicated that the game has been receiving updates approximately every 6 hours in the past few days. That's like a check-in cadence. That's interesting. In the next segment, Rebs discussed Halo 7, the upcoming mainline installment in the series. Based on his exchange with the Halo community manager, he believes that Halo 7 is currently in pre-production and will likely be an indirect sequel. However, players should not expect the game to be released until the next generation of Xbox consoles is launched. Lastly, some rumors surrounding Halo Infinite were debunked. The first rumor suggested that the multiplayer mode of Halo Infinite was being ported to Unreal Engine 5. However, sources, including a former developer from Halo Studios and a current developer from Halo Support Studio, have confirmed that they have never heard of such plans. The second rumor claimed that Halo Infinite would be coming to PlayStation, but again, those sources have stated that they are unaware of any such plans. In other news, Halo Studios has teased that more will be shared about the Halo franchise and its next game coming later this year. What are your thoughts about it? Let us know below. So it's from Insider Gaming. I don't think they're talking about couch co-op. So I don't have a lot of info about that, but I think Halo CE coming to PlayStation as a remake, I think that would be the way to do it. We know there's no more red lines. Like, get ready. Halo's coming to PlayStation. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. It's coming. Just get mentally prepared. If you're like worried about this, I would put on your mentally prepared cap and go from there. So, yeah. Lord Zero says, I played this game already when it was called Halo CE Anniversary in 2011. I don't understand why this exists. The 2011 remake was sort of like a graphical facelift. That was a remaster. This is a full from the ground remake in Unreal Engine. And I think it's going to be the template for them to remake Halo 2 again, Halo 3, Halo Reach, etc., etc. Riskit says, what has that purchase done for consumers, though? He's talking about, I think you're talking about Activision Blizzard. What has it done for consumers? Most of those games are on Game Pass now or available via Steam. No, wait. From the Activision Blizzard purchase, all new games have been added to Game Pass. They are finally going back and releasing some of the old games on Game Pass, but I hear you. Angel says Sony has bought Bungie to help with multiplayer because their studios mainly specialize in single-player cinematic games. Bungie was supposed to bring live service and FPS expertise, something Sony lacks internally. I hear you, Angel. That's the line we were told. But there's always another reason, right? I think it was bigger than that. And that's just tinfoil hat on my end. But, yeah. I'm glad Microsoft bought... Oh, yeah, we covered off on that one, Angel. Thank you for the $20, man. Appreciate it. Huge super chats today. Thank you, Angel. I think that Bungie came in, they gave some advice about the Last of Us multiplayer game, and basically Naughty Dog said, yeah, we don't want to just spend the rest of our existence making this one property. But to bring it back to this Halo conversation, I don't think they're talking about not doing couch co-op. If that does end up being the case, I think that would be a huge miss for this project. If Gears of War can have couch co-op, Halo Remake can have couch co-op, right? And I think in terms of multiplayer, I think this release will be a good time to finally bring over Master Chief Collection and bring over Halo Infinite, at least the multiplayer portion. KY Bob says, these companies firing over only 150 to 200 million console gamers. What? These companies are fighting over 150 to 200 million console gamers. Microsoft's pivot to give access to PC storefronts. There are 1.75 billion PC gamers. You get it, sir. KY absolutely understands what is going on here. And my whole picture of where Microsoft was going 4 years ago, maybe it was 5 years ago. I don't remember when we started having these conversations, but everybody thinks I'm talking about console sales. I'm talking about ecosystem. Microsoft's strategy as an ecosystem is to sell more copies of everything, not just consoles, more games, more subscriptions. They're building an infrastructure. I never in my life would have expected them to start releasing stuff on PlayStation, but we just looked at Matt Piscatella's report, and we see that Xbox games are like the top played thing on PlayStation back in May. It seems like the strategy's working. So anyway, that's my hot take on it. Excited about the update there. Oh, I had this issue of X-Men. I must have opened this up. Marvel Rivals is getting a swimsuit episode. And I think I had this issue of X-Men when they all went swimming for some reason. I don't remember what was going on here, but yeah, this looks like one of the Jim Lee series issues. And I had that whole line. Oh yeah. So while I have everybody here, what did you think of the Ghost of Yotei deep dive? I liked it. I thought I would just open up the floor to have a quick conversation about Ghost of Yotei. I, for one, am very excited about Ghost of Yotei. I really liked that. I recorded my reaction, and people thought I was being they thought I was being weird. And it was mostly about the graphics. I said something along the lines of, I think that we have reached a point where graphics are less important than people make them out to be. I am a graphics snob. I notice when something's 60 versus 30. I notice when textures look right. But I also think we're at this point where that's not the main concern for the vast majority of players. I think 60 versus 30 is definitely easy to see once you see it. And I do think more people have woken up to that. I remember when I was talking about performance and how it's really exciting that games are going to run at a higher frame rate, and everybody would argue with me. And then the PlayStation 5 and the Series X came out, and everyone was like, oh, we get it now. It's like people forgot what 60 frames feels like. It's really, really good. Riskit says, for those in chat who are glad exclusivity is done, I am. I'm one of those people in chat. This will do irrevocable damage to the consoles over a long line. Okay. I hope you like PC. I do, because that's where we're all going to have to go. Actually, Riskit, good news. Microsoft's going to make a solution for you. They're going to make a PC without the headaches of PC. Isn't that awesome? You're seeing the early prototype of it with the Xbox ROG Ally X. Aren't you happy? You're going to get better looking games. They're going to run smoother. Maybe they'll even let you take out components so that you can save on pricing, and you get your console experience and I get my PC experience, and we can all be happy. I don't think this idea of them making more of a focus towards less exclusives is going to do damage to the consoles. Like, PlayStation's having one of their most successful time periods ever. I'll be interested to see when they do their next earnings if they have finally outpaced the PlayStation 4. But I think consoles have hit the saturation point. So these companies need to level things out, so to speak. Destin, you have mission control. Can't you log super chats instead of addressing immediately? It's breaking the flow of your conversation. I don't know. I was kind of in a conversational block. I thought I was doing okay, chat. Was I doing all right? No, I have it here. I'm looking at it right now. And I see all the conversations. We were talking about whatever. But am I getting a little too loosey-goosey? Should I tighten it up a bit? Do super chats at like a resting point in between topics? Lord Zero says I was doing great. Sydney says you were doing fine. Seriously, though, if it's breaking up the flow, I don't want to mess that up. I don't care when you address super chats. Yeah, sometimes I just like to chat. I don't know. Riskit gets really passionate about his topics, and like, I appreciate his perspective, but I mean, don't worry, man. You're going to have a cool PC console hybrid thing soon, and you're going to be fine. Riskit and I don't often agree, but like, he's not a jerk, you know, so he's fine in my book. Matt says, hey, Destin, I'm guessing this PC console hybrid will support 240 hertz. I think the study showed 144 is kind of the sweet spot. You have diminishing returns after 144 hertz. Now I have some stupid frame rate monitor, like it's like 360 or something like that on this one. I play on the 144. So for me, I like the 144 hertz personally. That's where I'm at with it. I really like Ghost Yote though. Anyway, going back to that one. What else we got here? Oh, yes. If you have not played Destiny, speaking of PlayStation owned stuff, all the Destiny 2 DLCs, they're free for a limited time. Go play the Destiny DLCs, and that's through the latest season. I highly recommend that you go try out the new Destiny content. So we've gotten a lot of good PlayStation news lately, man. If you're not like Death Stranding 2, it's the weird delivery game if you're into that. It's Metal Gear. If you just want to go do combat, it's Metal Gear, and you can stat your character into that. If you just want to advance the wacky, weird, but touching story, you can do that also. Now, Bungie has just said, hey, all of Destiny is free. Come and play. Probably because they make most of their money from microtransactions anyway. But anyway, that's free until July 22nd. So you can just do whatever you want in Destiny. If you don't like it, like, just keep not playing it. So that's really cool. And then later this year in October, I'm very excited about Ghost Yote camp. And I think there's 3 games off the top of my head. Let me know if I'm missing anything that I'm really excited about. Ghost Yote is one of my top most anticipated games for the remainder of the year. Borderlands 4 and Metal Gear Delta. Those are my 3 big games. Those are my 3 big games. Well, obviously, Adam, it's because I'm not there. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Did I miss anything? Grounded 2 is coming, but I didn't play the first Grounded. It looks good, but yeah. Did you play Tony Hawk? I have a code for... Oh, Mafia. Good call, Victor. I almost forgot about Mafia. I haven't gone back to Destiny, Luke says. Yeah, it's been a while. Ooh, Ninja Gaiden. Is Ninja Gaiden this year? I think Mafia is going to be really short. Okay, so yeah, Ninja Gaiden. Got to add that one to the list. We're at a stopping point, so let's just nerd out for a little bit with chat. Somebody said Superman sucked. I thought Superman was fine. Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers, another good call out. It's not like one of my top anticipated games, but it does look good. What's your opinion on the Forza rumors? I made a whole video about it. It stinks. Silent Hill F. Yeah, I think that's one that a lot of people are going to be excited for. I was just doing like Destin picks. And if I had to like categorize that, I think it's like Ghost Yote and Metal Gear Solid Delta are like right here. I've seen some criticisms that the facial animations in Delta are looking like a little off, but yeah. 1 out of 10 for... Man, you guys did not like Superman, huh? Super good, but not great. Text with me. I thought it was good, not great. A lot of people I've talked to thought it was great. I mean, do we want to do Superman chat for a little bit? I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody. So I'll just say it's good, not great. I think Superman comes off like a big, dumb, spoiled brat for like the first half of the movie. And I think Lois Lane comes off very like not nice. And then they kind of like just through the movie, they kind of like evolve. But I feel like everything is told too quickly. Like there's this point where Superman's the best thing ever. And then there's one thing happens and they're like, you're bad. You're the bad guy. We don't like you now. And then something happens a little bit later and they're like, oh, our bad. You were actually good. We thought you were bad, but you're actually good. You're good, Superman. And I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? It all... Like literally there's a news report that happens that reveals like you shouldn't like Superman for a reason. And then and he's literally just saved the whole city, right? Is that a spoiler? It's in the trailer. All right, I'll just shut up. I don't want to spoil anything. Go see Superman Blind and we'll talk about it in a week or two, okay? Everyone's just gonna bail if I start spoiling Superman. I'm a big comic guy, so I like that stuff. NR says the ROG Xbox Ally X is upgradable hardware through an external add-on. Do you think future Xbox consoles will be as well? Appreciate your balanced point of view. Yeah, I think that's where we're going. I don't know about the console configuration that they end up building, but it's going to be a PC. So you're going to be able to play PlayStation games on it. You'll be able to play Xbox games on it. Do they particularly care which storefront you buy it from? No. The value proposition is Xbox Game Pass for Xbox. But like people are like, well, how are they even going to make money if everybody just buys all their games on the Steam storefront? It's like they don't care. I don't think that's their goal, right? Oh, and Angel, I missed yours too. Microsoft owns Windows and PC OS, so they're capitalizing on unifying Xbox and PC into one ecosystem across console, cloud, and PC gaming. Yeah, it's so apparent to anybody who's been paying attention. Like, that's what it seems like they're doing. They do need to answer for how they're going to let our old games continue to play nice with the new games. Like the 360 stuff and like stuff like Halo 5, which is not available on PC. They have to solve for that. But if they solve that problem, then it's just kind of like done deal, in my opinion. I didn't see the new Painkiller trailer. We're going to go on to another story. Real quick, PlayStation. I think a lot of these might be really short. And I have a script I wanted to read. We'll do one of those things where I read a script and then never air the video because something weird happens. I think you're right on the money, Victor. But anyway, yeah, Cyberpunk was just added to PlayStation Plus. If you haven't played it yet, I highly recommend it. Oh, and then just touching back on the top purchase games. Here we go. We got it. This is what I was looking for. The 20 best-selling games for May 2025. May, the year Game Pass almost killed the industry. These are the best selling. These aren't Game Pass games. These are games people spent their money on. Let's count the number of Xbox games with games on Game Pass. There's one. Doom the Dark Ages was number 2 in May. Forza Horizon 5, which just came to PlayStation 5, was number 2. Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered, number 4. We already covered off an Elden Ring. Oh, Call of Duty Black Ops 6. That's number 4. Oh, Minecraft on multiple platforms. That's number 7. Crazy. And that's it. So 5 Xbox games. 5 Xbox games, all on Game Pass, are the top, in the top 7 games sold. The whole Game Pass thing is a myth. It's just a myth. Is Battlefront 2 on Game Pass? But Battlefront 2 was trending because the PC community kind of like started devouring it. I don't think that's really related to Xbox. It's a highlighter. It's just a highlighter. Somebody's asking me how are you highlighting things? I'm like, it's a highlighter. You just use the highlighter. I don't know. You right click and you go to highlight text. And then PlayStation, like, check this out. Everybody's saying Helldivers 2 is dead. Okay. Let's put these in blue. Is there a blue one? We'll do cyan. Helldivers 2. Sony. We know this one's, I don't know. Everybody complains when I use this one. We'll say that's a Sony game, right? Is that it? Last of Us Part 2, number 17. Like the 4th time that's been released. So they're on the charts too. So, all the yellow games, all 5 of them, they're all on Game Pass. So, wait a minute. Wait. If people are buying the games, but they're on Game Pass, maybe some games just suck. Did anybody think that might be the case? Maybe some games just suck, and that's okay. I've done some stuff that sucks. I get it. But I don't think it's Game Pass's fault that the game sucked. Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And some people think Doom the Dark Ages suck. I really like Doom the Dark Ages. Destin, Game Pass are like rental stores. Rental stores don't kill the industry. Yep. Yeah, rental stores didn't kill Netflix. It was the opposite. Like, does Gamefly still exist? Does Gamefly? It still exists. Is it the same? Guys, oh my God. Oh my God, you guys. Breaking news. I'm really worried about the video game industry. Did you know that with Gamefly, they're even giving it to you for free for 30 days? Day one releases? Oh no. Shit. Oh. What are we going to do? You can even keep one at a time for 13. Oh my God. Gamefly is going to kill the games industry. Like, I really wish that guy would have sat down with me to have an honest conversation, because I really want to understand his perspective. Like, I'm just like, what are you talking about, dude? Because I don't get it. Games industry is killing itself by their own ambition. It's not ambition, dude. It's not being able to scope your frickin' project. Like, how is it that From Software can come out with a game that, like, Elden Ring is a nice looking game, but it's not like a showstopper. It's just really frickin' good on like every level. Or Armored Core. Armored Core. Remember when people were being critical about Armored Core because it like, oh, this game isn't pretty enough. Cool. It made them $200 million profit. Like, and then Nintendo comes out and Nintendo's like, you know what? We should probably get our pricing strategy in order. You know what we're going to do? We're going to figure out a methodology where we do not need to fire everybody. Maybe we, as leaders, should get our shit together. And I have my problems with Nintendo. But when it comes to doing good by their people, I think you can look to Capcom and you can look to Nintendo by having that shit on lock. Kudos to them. And Capcom has its problems too. Like Monster Hunter's basically got 50% positive reviews or something. So yeah. Risket says, you feel like the games industry is in a collapse? No, dude, so it's an interesting question. Do I feel like the games industry is collapsing? No. I think some people feel that way because this idea that this idea that subscriptions are hurting everything and that the only way you can play games is via console, it's an antiquated idea. There's more access points than ever before for gamers to play and enjoy games. You can do it on your phone. I'm sure they have. My wife finally, she's like, I'm running more. I want to get an Apple Watch. I was like, okay, we can get it. Like, which one do you want? What's the good one? And like, she wanted the 10 and then she got one and I'm like, I'll get the $100 one or whatever and just try it and see if I like it. And yeah. But sorry, totally aside, I'm excited to try out the Apple Watch. And my wife's has been interesting. I don't know why I went there. Do I think the industry is in a collapse? No. It's not in a collapse. And if you actually look at the charts, the video game companies, they're making more money than they've ever made. The problem is The line went like this after going like this during COVID. So the line went like this, and then the industry was like, wait, that's a little too much. And now it's just like going a little bit up. It's not going like this anymore. So who is impacted by that? The people who run the stock market. And when they don't see line go up, they go to the next shiny thing. And the next shiny thing, it's AI. But is it going down? Nope. They're only making trillions of dollars. Or, sorry, trillions is too much. They're only making billions. They're not making trillions. And that's not good enough. Not good enough for the investors, for the CEOs with the insane salaries. Line has to go up, right? And we can be pissed at Microsoft, but if you're a ruthless businessman, you're happy with what Microsoft is doing. I'm not happy with what Microsoft's doing because I think it's just brutal to see. But they're going to hit a $4 trillion market cap, right? Like, at what cost? It's layoffs and prices. Yeah. How the frick come every single time Microsoft is like, or Sony or Nintendo or anybody, they're like, guys, like, look, we had 9,000 people on Diablo 4 and Path of Exile was made by like 40 people in a basement with a box of scraps. And we spent double the budget of game development time on marketing. So we spent like $1 billion getting Diablo 4 out the door. How can we blame this on the player? How is this the player's fault? That's what happens every time. And that's why the industry is hurting. It's because they just can't figure it out. They can't figure out how to stop spending so much on marketing, stop trying to please everybody when you're making all of your games, and just make a good game. 9,000 people? Like, what are you doing? We're going to see more layoffs across the board. That's just what's going to happen. That's not something I say with glee or happiness. It's just they're focused on the wrong things. They don't know how to shoehorn in their marketing budget. They hire way too many people on every project. And this is largely a Western issue versus a Japanese issue. But there are companies like in France at Ubisoft that are suffering from the same issues. They're trying to capture what the investors want versus what the players want. And the big battle at Ubisoft right now, as we have seen from the investors who actually give a shit, AJ Investments, they're like, why aren't you remaking Black Flag? Why aren't you making things that we have wanted for years? The players want a new Splinter Cell. Where the frick is it? The players want a Black Flag remake. Where is it? Like, why are you focused on, and they're focused on weird stuff that like doesn't really have anything to do with gaming half the time. So I don't think the industry's in trouble. I think the line hasn't gone up far enough for them. They need line to go up, and that's why they're expanding to everything. I don't think consoles are going away anytime soon. They're going to be fine. But they're going to fire a whole bunch of people because the Western market vastly overstaffed versus most of the other markets. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was made for under $100 million. Think about that. That's all in. Path of Exile 2 was made for, they laughed at me when I asked if it was 100 million. They laughed in my face. What the fuck are you talking about? In the coast that I'm on in California and everything, That's like lunch money. 100 million for a game. They probably burned on the Perfect Dark disaster. They probably burned at least $200 million on that. But why? Because leadership didn't have a cohesive vision. They like couldn't get it together. The Western market is overstaffed. It is. And it sucks because leadership has allowed that to happen. And then good people, good designers, people who make cool stuff, they're the ones that are going to suffer. Machine XP says, I do find it funny how some in chat claim you're defending a corpo. How many times do I have to say the corporations are the one we should be holding accountable? Like I'm not defending corporations. They're the one I'm frustrated with. There is a difference between correcting untrue narratives versus Defense Force. Yeah. Spitfire said, hey, Destin, will Microsoft cancel Fable or State of Decay 3? We've seen zero to little gameplay. Xbox had a huge chance to increase Game Pass numbers with ABK games like WoW plus subscription side. I agree. I agree on the WoW thing. I don't think Fable's going to be canceled because too many big names are associated with it. I'm surprised State of Decay 3 wasn't canceled. It seems like it's in development hell just based on the fact that we've seen nothing about it. So that one's been weird. We saw like some gameplay snippets and it looks fine. They must have some sort of data that says State of Decay 3 is like this gangbuster hit that they can't let fail. Like I'm very surprised by that, to be honest. Me and my friends watched credits on Speed Up for 15 minutes last night. Way too many episodes. People for one game. The heads to higher stakes needed to make it successful. Yeah, like it's out of control. They just got to rein it in. It's just too much. Angel says, I'm glad Xbox laid off and closed studios. They're recalibrating. If a game takes 8 to 10 years with no results, that's mismanagement, not development. Yeah, and I hold leadership accountable for that failure. From the start, with the quadruple A initiative play, that studio was so screwed up internally that they didn't, according to that one artist who posts some stuff publicly, Perfect Dark was so cooked that those little gameplay moments that we saw where they were finally getting some semblance of an idea together, they like, if you looked the wrong way, they would break. So they were already barely at a functional state. They had lost half the studio from the people who worked on it initially. They had already had layoffs there. Like Perfect Dark was just a mess. It was like a disaster mess. I wouldn't say I'm glad they fired people. I'm never happy to see that happen in the industry. That's just how I feel about it. But there is some gross mismanagement happening there. And I would argue the same thing with Everwild. Rare had a Rare had a live stream where they said, we're reevaluating like how we handle things internally. Like, look, I love that you want to be creative and create something, but like, you don't get 10 years. Are you making forward momentum or not? Okay, we gave you 7 years. And that is on lead. That's not on the people doing the job. That's on leaders. That's on leaders who failed their team. If a dude, let's say you're a dude who textures boxes, right? I use that as an example because you like unwrap the box and then you texture it. And then you send out your textured box for approval. Okay, I've sent out my textured box for approval. What else do I have to work on next? Nothing. The next step in the process is you wait 2 weeks for your one textured box to be approved. It's got to go to your manager. Your manager signs off on it. Then it's got to go to the QA team to make sure that it implements into the level right. Okay, it's gone there. Okay, a week later, your box is approved, except the texture on quadrant 4J, XY, BB, there's a little smudge. Please make correction there and resubmit. Okay, we'll see you in 2 weeks. It's like, okay, dude, like you can pay me to texture this one box, but like, how about we get the game moving? Like, is this really what you want me working on? You know? And like often that is how it's becoming in a corporate environment. And we hear from the Fallout guy. There's this guy who knows who I'm talking about. There's this guy who makes games and he does these vlogs, and he's like saying he went into a room and he's like, "Hey, I want you to write this line of code and I need you to just put it in the game for me. It'll make the AI work better," or something like that. And they're like, "How could you do this? How dare you go directly to the programmer? That needs to go to da 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 da, like excuse, layers. Like, he's like, yeah, here, I wrote it and I put it in the game. Bye." So like at some point, bureaucracy or whatever you want to call it, it negatively impacts the creative process. And I think that's largely what we're seeing. I'm super on a tangent. I am so sorry. I'm like off on the worst tangent I've probably ever had. Let's get back to it, because I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Video game hardware sales fell 13% in May of 2025. Xbox down 30. PlayStation was what was PlayStation up? They were like up 1% year over year. But overall, video game hardware is down. We are on the tail end. Tim Kaine, thank you. Tim Kaine is who I was talking about. But there are always lazy workers too. Angel's right. Sometimes you just get bad apples. Angel also said, "I'm glad Xbox laid off and closed some studios and they're recalibrating. If a game takes 8 to 10 years, no." Oh, that's Angel. You're why I was on my crazy tangent. That's right. So anyway, yeah, video game hardware is going down. Oh, this was cool news. More news for PlayStation fans. Stalker 2 finally announced for PS5 with release window. I gotta say, I was going to play Death Stranding, but I'm probably going to play it tonight. I know my bot keeps reminding you guys about that gameplay channel. Please subscribe to it. I need to hit like at least 500 subs, and then I need to hit 1,000. So if you could just sub to it and turn off notifications, that would be great. Unless you want to see me. I play Death Stranding, no camera, because I can just sit over here, chill, and play on my TV and have a good time, right? So it is nice. And I do, Anonymous Boss shows up in there all the time. So I really appreciate, I like having company, because right now I'm just streaming to like nobody. Thanks, Henry D. It's free to sub, all that stuff. It's at Destin's Gameplay, I believe is the channel. Yeah, but Stalker 2 was announced for PlayStation 5. Go get it. I think it's coming out in August. Maybe this says late 2025. Here's the official announcement. Yeah, it's coming late 2025 to PS5. And I believe at the end, so IGN got this exclusive. This is a big exclusive for, I'm guessing Ryan got this. Ryan usually gets the good stuff over there. Oh, it just says late 2025. But anyway, huge get. I think it's really, really cool. Oh, Luke Bot says we are getting 007 First Light. Good call. Good call. That's from IO, though. I'm really, really excited about Stalker 2 coming to PlayStation 5. It is a survival shooter. So, like, if you get shot, you got to, like, patch up your gun wounds. And you have to, like, monitor how much you eat. And you got to avoid the crazy toxic storms and stuff like that. But I'm so happy to hear that this is coming to PlayStation 5. And I think it's a really fun game. I only played, like, 10, 15 hours of it or something like that. I know that's, like, nothing in video game world. But I think I played that much. I had a really good time with it. And I'm really excited more people can play it. The people who really get into it, they love the Stalker franchise. I think it's really good. They fixed a ton of the issues. Ray said they fixed the AI spawning issues, and the NPC are now in good shape. When it launched, it had some wonkiness to it, even on the first day. They've addressed a ton of that stuff. They've been working their butts off. And you got to remember, like, they're based in Ukraine. They had to move out of the war zone so that they could make this game. And I'm happy to see how successful it was. I find it really fun, and it definitely found its audience. So that was just really awesome to see. And hope if you're a PlayStation fan, put your console bias aside. We've seen that PlayStation fans, they just like good games at the end of the day. So I'm really excited to see that more PlayStation fans are going to get to play a great game in Stalker 2. And you know what? If PlayStation ever released games on Xbox, I think you're going to see the same thing. I think when Spider-Man and all that stuff come to Xbox, should that ever come to pass, or Helldivers 2, which was announced for Xbox, you're going to see the same thing on the other side. At the end of the day, we're just all gamers and we like to play cool stuff. So I think we're going to see more of that. Bussy, by the way, I forgot to give you a shout out over on Kick. Thanks for the follow. How do we feel about the Fallout rumors? Multiple Fallout projects are in development, it's claimed. Many were left with a slightly empty feeling after the recent Xbox Game Showcase when Bethesda Game Studios didn't reveal something related to Fallout. Well, the rumor is, and we know this, I made a whole video about this because I love Fallout, is that the Fallout 3 remaster is actually further along than we thought. But we saw Chris Avallone comment on X and say that the Fallout New Vegas stuff sounds like it's BS. So don't buy into any of that. But the Fallout 3 remake, that was literally on the FTC documents. So we know that one's coming. And if that's what Bethesda is working on next, that is hype. I wonder, like, the only part that doesn't make sense is they fired all those people who were working on Project Blackbird, which I was really excited about. Are they putting them on a Fallout project or something, or what? So I don't know. Anyway. Now, there are multiple Fallout projects in development, including, as far as I'm aware, that one you're all wanting, but it's not far enough along to say anything that's like you're going to be playing this game anytime soon. So that was from the Friends Per Second, VGC Jordan Miller. I made a whole video about it, but I just wanted to express how excited I am to play a Fallout 3 remaster. It's one of my favorite games, and I do hope more people get to play it. I know the kids might come home. When they come home, I gotta go because I gotta, be a dad. So when they get back, I will probably have to stop the stream. Before I get there, I wanted to tell y'all about some stuff that I played, and then we'll come back to the regular stream and I'll try and finish out all these tabs. I'm only halfway through the tabs I have open. Like, that's how far in we are. So, I'm going to do one of those things where I record it and we just do it live on the stream, because that worked out really well for me for like the Laura Fryer reaction. Oh, and then maybe we'll react to Laura Fryer's follow-up and go from there. But I'm going to do the thing where I plug in the camera and hopefully my teleprompter doesn't break everything. So good freeze frame. Uh-oh. And we're good. Okay. Yeah, so every time I do that, I'm like, don't break. I got one of those Elgato teleprompters. And if I got to figure out how to solve this, but there is a little bit of light that kind of comes through from the monitor onto the glass. We're going to address that here in a second. So I'll do my live read, and it's good because I'm going to tell you about a bunch of the games that I played during Summer Games Fest. Oh, did it break it? No. Okay. Yeah, man. The only thing about this app is it's like a little terrifying. Okay. So we'll do this live. I'm just going to tell you about all right. I am very late to the game, but not that long ago, I had a wonderful time at SGF, and I thought I would finally tell you about all of the games I saw at the event, starting with Onimusha. Onimusha was not a game I expected to even preview during Summer Games Fest, but Capcom let me sneak behind closed doors to check it out, and I am very glad I did. This build did seem a bit early given the fact that the graphics weren't mind-blowing or anything, but the gameplay looked superb. My main takeaway was that the combat looked cool. Guards are contextual, so if you parry just right, you'll do a unique parry, and it will result in a gory finish each time. And that adds a lot of variety, and that will add a lot of variety to the gameplay overall. Imagine a unique animation based on how you've attacked or defended, and that will allow you to see enough variety that will make it never get stale. Those are the kind of little gameplay treats that I love. And if you get good enough, you can even chain these executions together for an extremely rewarding display of your skill. Enemy variety was great too. Not only did you have your standard fodder that you'll basically one-hit kill with your skills, but you'll also have those. But we also encountered some fat flying orb guys that will absorb XP and then shoot it back at you. You can use your grapple hook once you've defeated those characters and use them basically like a bomb to throw at enemies. And it was all hands off, by the way. So it was very fun to see, and I can't wait to play it for myself. Another enemy later on in the game had the ability to move incredibly fast, and the only way to defeat them was to time your attack precisely to behead them or cut their body entirely in half down the middle. And then in terms of exploration, they also showed off the Genma vision. I'm going to start that one over. In terms of exploration, they also showed off Genma vision that would tease hidden puzzles and new locations to find, sort of like Batman vision, but not quite. Well, in one fight, you would actually need to rip up parts of the house to use the defense and then throw back at the enemy to break or knock back their barrier, and then that would open them up to attack. That is also another example of sort of how they're using the environment in these games. And the cutscenes, which are great, they'll unveil story elements that are introduced to you just as you sort of explore the world and unlock more and more pieces of the map. Your gauntlet, the thing on your arm, it actually guides you as you explore, and it gives you hints as to where you can go next. But it also banters with you, not in an annoying way like some other games that we've seen, but in sort of a fun way where it's tongue-in-cheek and you do get to have a little bit of fun with that item. The game takes place in Japan, and there are some really interesting folklore. The game takes place in Japan, of course, and there's some really interesting folklore integrated into the game too, like a family temple based off the Genmar who used to throw their family off the temple. The developer said they tried to recreate a 1600s look to help you feel more time period accurate. And this was the location of a climactic boss fight that had us face off against a character named Bayakue. I probably butchered that. You've got to see the full extent. You get to see the full extent of abilities here with parries that can damage a boss and allow you to pick a specific location to damage, or you can simply damage them directly. And overall, I left the Onimusha demo impressed. I really want to play it now. I was happy to see what they're doing in terms of combat, and if they can keep this up by giving us plenty to tackle and use our cool abilities with, then I can't wait to see more. Chat, do you like it when I do this, or do you think I should do this off air? I kind of like doing these live because you all get content and I can like record the VOD later. But just interjecting as I'm recording this, do you like these? It seems like chat seems to like them. Live. You like them live. All right, well, let's keep it going. Dying Light the Beast was a highlight for my time in SGF. Being given free reign to take on the open world with all of my abilities was a lot of fun. Having dabbled with the previous Dying Light games, the Beast was mostly familiar to me. I used unique weapons, messed around with the new crafting system, and even used guns here and there to eviscerate any human enemies getting in my path. You also have like this cool super ability, like you basically go Kratos Rage and then nuke everything. That was fun too. The only part that kind of surprised me was how quickly I picked up the basic mechanics. There were some night sections that encouraged me to like be more stealthy and sneak around, but for the most part, it was a pretty easy game. We got to find components and build a flamethrower. That was pretty overpowered. I was sure to stay on the rooftops to avoid, the fodder zombies, so to speak. And when I was running across the open world, nothing really challenged me. You could even drive across it if you wanted to. And also, to be fair, maybe I just didn't really care about survival. I just was having a lot of fun popping off. So there's that. There was one section, though, admittedly, that I found kicking my butt, and that was the final boss encounter. There's this big lumbering boss you fight at the very end, and for some reason, I ended up having some trouble here. Previously, I had wrecked everything in my path, but I got stuck for a bit until finally clearing this challenging enemy. It wasn't so much that it was hard, it was more that my character's dodge was like I was moving the joystick and he wasn't dodging where I wanted him to. He would dodge either forward or backwards when I wanted him to go left or right quickly. And that was the biggest problem. It was me. It's all my fault. But anyway, that's probably on me more than anything. Beyond that, however, you should feel empowered when you play Dying Light for the most part. And with the exception of the poorly timed dodges on my part or bosses that maybe they're overpowered, maybe they're not, that will probably give you some meat to dive into when you're building your character, collecting weapons, and exploring the world. Overall, great time, and I can't wait to see more. Chat said, we like it live. We love it. We like doing it live. Skill check. You get to see like how much I flub. I felt so bad because some of the people were like, hey, you saw our game. Are you going to make content about it? I'm like, I've had this script like sitting for a while. And then my kids wanted to go to read books. So I just wrote while they were reading. So yeah. Whoops. That's like my prompter thing. Mouse is the game you've probably seen making the rounds that plays a bit of a spoof on Mickey Mouse and did the entire game because they did the entire game in that Mickey Mouse Steamboat Willie style. I've been interested in it for that reason alone, but I did not expect that the gameplay would be as good as I saw behind closed doors. It reminded me a lot of old school Doom or Duke Nukem, but with some interesting weapons like a turpentine gun that would melt enemies in your path, literally because it's turpentine in their ink. Enemies also had some good AI abilities. They would actually try and swarm you, and they weren't completely brain dead. I've been excited about it, but what I did not expect is that the gameplay is seemingly quite good already. They had several different weapons to choose from, mostly your standard stuff like a pistol or shotgun, but they also have finger guns as a power-up, turpentine weapons that I mentioned earlier, and there's stuff where your enemies just get existed. Oh wait, I'm being redundant there. And the turpentine weapon that will erase things from existing. I think there's still a worry that the gimmick of looking like Mickey Mouse will wear off quickly, and then what will you be left with? Well, for some reason, it really reminded me of Duke Nukem games of old. You have strafing and a lot of weapons to try out, but on top of that, you'll encounter a lot of interesting characters who will give you some hints about what you're supposed to be doing or where you're supposed to go, and they'll advance the overall story. I think this is where you might end up finding that there is some interest, and they have... Who's that famous voice actor? They announced the voice actor for Mouse. They announced his name. I forgot his name. He does everything. He's the bad guy in Death Stranding 2. Who's the bad guy in Death Stranding 2? I don't know why. Baker. Something Baker. Chris Baker? No. Oh my God. Nolan North. No, it's not Nolan North. Troy Baker. Oh my God. I'm an idiot. And they did confirm that Troy Baker is doing the voice, so that will be something I will quite enjoy. These characters are quite stupid, sometimes the bad guys anyway, but that adds some subtle humor to situations. The main mission we got to see was one where the main character learns of an assassination attempt at an opera, and we need to figure out how to infiltrate the theater and prevent anyone from being murdered. It was a good mix of platforming, combat, some silly interactions with NPCs that give you a chuckle, but the combat arenas themselves were quite interesting. The theater, for example, because it's an opera, is constantly like changing its shape, and then enemies would be hidden within the walls. And I thought that was a fun way to sort of approach the situation. And then you would, of course, kill anybody who got in your way. The one concern I brought up with the team was that the overall trick they play on you is that you would be like sneaking through some pipes, and then you would fall through the pipes and they'd be like, haha, you got to go a different way. And I was like, I think that might get old real quick, but they seem to indicate that it's just for this level because of the nature of trickery with opera and such, and the movement of the level and all of those things. So I'll be honest though, I was really impressed by the gunplay. I was worried it would seem simple, and maybe it is, but when you add the kicks and power-ups like finger guns and weapons into the mix that are unique, it seemed more fleshed out than I expected. I love the art style, look, and can't wait to see more. Wu Chang Fallen Feathers is probably exactly what you think it is. It's a Souls-like game where you'll need to perfect your gameplay, upgrade your gear, and clear the level from larger-than-life enemies that will stomp you, just like any Souls-like would. That said, there are some combat mechanics that seem to really stand out for me because you have several stances you can use. I'm probably saying the wrong term, but Wu Chang does some interesting things with that because the combat that I haven't seen pulled off any other way works really well here. You get all of these different abilities and weapons you can swap to on the fly, and that creates these really interesting combat arenas where the boss might shift and you'll need to completely change your play style with just the press of a few buttons to tackle that situation. The game also looks very pretty, at least what I played of it, and I wish I had more time to relax and enjoy the environment and story elements that you don't really get to at an event like SGF. I did really like the combat though, and had a good time in my session. I just never feel like I get a full grasp of the ins and outs of a game like this, especially during a short gameplay segment, but I do think there's a lot of meat here and something for fans of the Souls-like genre who are hungry for more. Spine. This was a big surprise. I am a sucker for action games, and Spine really surprised me. You play as a cybernetically enhanced lady who can do some interesting things with murdering people, and of course is overpowered. And of course is an overpowered gun-wielding badass. It wasn't so much that the gameplay was mind-blowingly impressive or anything. It's just gunplay at the end of the day, but it adds a level of style that I like. It's still very early on, but Spine seems like it's bringing back those stylized executions that something like the Punisher game from the OG Xbox days did really, really well. Overall, I remember having a blast with this one because of that. It's still very early, but it uses the Batman-like combat abilities mixed with gunplay and rewards you for succeeding with really cool kill cams. Think Batman Arkham gameplay, but with gun fatalities mixed in. If you liked Punisher, and all of that is mixed with that old school Punisher vibe, which sounds kind of like a good mix. The team really needs to work out a few of the kinks, and the boss fight was pretty clunky, but overall, this was honestly one of my top games of the show, and I can't wait to see where they take it from here. Directive 8020 was just sitting on the floor of SGF, and I did not have a demo booked, but I got to take a seat and play away. Long story short, this is one of those choose your own adventure style games, for the most part anyway, and it looks really awesome. The one note I did put down was that the visuals were incredible, so take that for what you will. Mainly, you were given the choice to murder your way out of a situation via the dialogue options, or you could let a character live if you take the right dialogue path. I, of course, went full murder and just enjoyed watching the horror on everybody's face as I continue being a terrible person in these style of games. Beyond that, though, there was a very short stealth section where I snuck in between corridors as a lumbering monster stalked the hallways, and it was basic, but I love the atmosphere and acting overall. I'm just not sure about the gameplay just yet because we didn't really get a lot of hands-on time with that part. After all, this is the team who made Until Dawn and The Quarry, so if you like those games, this is equally as great with fewer performance issues, at least in my experience, and that sounds darn good to me. Mistfall Hunter. So Mistfall Hunter was a bit of a weird one. Long story short, this is sort of a Dark Souls style game that has you entering into the abyss and trying to escape unscathed by using a bell from a weird spirit creature. It was fun, and it had you wield... No, I should be more... I liked it. It was pretty fun, and it had you wield either a traditional sword and board, ranger, or badonk weapon, should you so choose, but it also felt very early. the demo was fine, but there were a few technical hiccups here and there. And that said, I do think it's interesting. And I think people who are looking for like Dark Souls mixed with an extraction shooter might find something of interest here. I'm just a little unsure about where it's at currently. It is in beta right now, and I am a novice with the extraction Dark Souls games, but I could see that audience giving it a shot. Shinobi releasing August 29, 2025. This was a surprise. So when I originally showed up for my appointment, I was supposed to play Demon Slayer something something Chronicles 2, aka an anime game I admittedly don't know anything about. Instead, I was told that I could play Shinobi, and I was like, that's not what you booked me. Whatever, I'll play Shinobi. Well, the confusion was there, but I admit I was really digging Shinobi. This is a highlight of my time at SGF. It reminded me of the original Ninja Gaiden on the NES, which I freaking loved. And it starts out slow, giving you the basics and teaching you how to weave in and out of combat by doing large leaps across the screen, counterattacks, and all that good stuff. And man, what a fun game. Shinobi is looking beautiful, but the build I played was from the start, and it seems like this game is basically done. They were giving players free reign, and the person next to me was like way further into the game, it seemed. So as you encounter enemies who will each offer like a unique challenge, like maybe one character will shoot a bullet just in this one spot, and you'll have to figure out, okay, how do I parry that and then kill the other guy with a different ability on the other side? So you have to figure out how to use the tools at your disposal, like a mini super that will shoot a like insta-kill fireball, with something nice like using the marked enemy to further traverse the level, right? It's really, really cool, and I liked that aspect of the game. The demo ended with a large boss, which gave me the chance to use my Uber super ability, but Shinobi already left its impression. I didn't need to see more. It was exactly what I hoped for a game like this, and I wanted to play more. Crimson Desert. I'm going to be straight with you. I was not scheduled to see this game either, but Crimson Desert looks insane. It has a great character creator, an interesting combat system that is not like Dark Souls. It has a beautiful world, and I want to see it come out and steal the show. That said, after playing it, I do think there are core issues that need to be worked out before you or anyone else will absolutely fall in love with it. Mainly, there were these like visual issues that I noticed consistently, and they were kind of distracting from everything else you were supposed to be doing, because there's this really entrenched combat system you're going to have to learn. They're throwing us a few hours in, and like I've never touched the game before. I didn't really play any of the other games from the studio, so there was that to deal with, and that was a little bit challenging. But Crimson Desert is already looking and sounding great on paper. And based on what I played and experienced, it was a lot of fun. The line to my wife's texting me. I got to stop for a sec. Sorry. So the line was out the door for this station, and I had to like book in advance. And then I got this really short window to play it, like 30, 40 minutes. And then I had to run because my other appointment started. But anyway, Crimson Desert is looking and sounding great on paper, and everybody was really, really hyped to see it. Everybody who's played it had a good time with it. But I just don't think a venue like SGF is the place to demo it. Here's what I got to do. I got to take controls for a bit and walk from cutscene A to cutscene B before the demoist took over. And then they let me go into the crazy battlefield with like 1,000 characters on the screen at once. And I got to actually try out the combat a little bit. He was trying to teach me how to do the combat, and I got to nuke some towers. And then, you know, the demoist would take the controller away, and then they would do some stuff to set me up for the next thing. And I understand why they did that, but it doesn't make for a great experience on the show floor, in my opinion. Now, this game has a ton of hype behind it. I I love that you can fly from the top of a mountain to a location somewhere far in the distance. You can go anywhere on the map and explore. You can do these superpowers that have you shoot up in the air and then target a weak point on an enemy, or you can just ride a horse. It's really, really fun. I just worry because I recently played not Crimson Desert, but I played another game that had this level of hype behind it that unfortunately had some challenges, and that was Chrono Odyssey. Chrono Odyssey had all the basics. It had all the stuff on paper that seemed like it would work really well. And I don't want to see the team behind this game fall into that trap, because you only get one chance to make a great first impression. And I think the combat is solid. I think the premise is solid, but I think there are some concerning things about how they demo it on the show floor like that. And I kept this one for last because there's a ton of positive momentum behind this thing. I just need hands-on time, not on a show floor. So excited about that one, but those are my overall thoughts. Honorable mentions. Now, I do want to give some props to Monster Hunter Mobile, which just launched Season 6 into the Gloam. They introduced some new weapons, like the musical one that the Monster Hunters use, and there's some really, really cool gear that you can get, but I just don't know enough about this mobile game to do it justice, so I won't try. Beyond that, I also was given a glimpse into the Final Fantasy VII Magic card decks that you can have face off against each other and do battle. That is out now. It's Magic, but with Final Fantasy VII. It works really well and was really fun. I literally got to play Magic one time for my demo. I was guided the whole time and I won my first game, and they're like, all right, that's the demo. So if you like Magic and you like Final Fantasy, this one's kind of a no-brainer. You're probably going to be checking it out anyway. And I did have fun playing it. And I think it's definitely one of those games that might have you come in and play it, especially if you're a Final Fantasy fan. And I did get to try out the Pac-Man platformer, which was basically like a Metroidvania, but with a grapple arm to traverse higher into higher locations, a parry mechanic, and a giant robot mech you can summon at any time to either fight or eat your fallen foes for XP and components to build things in the future. I only got like 5 minutes of playtime with this one, but it was also fun, and it reminded me a lot of the Shinobi game I had played earlier that day. And then finally, there was this game Frosthaven, which I was given a demo for. This was given to me virtually, and it showed off a turn-based action game. It has a pretty good story and some interesting gameplay elements, but I just didn't have the time to sink my teeth into it and give you a proper assessment. Frosthaven is based off of a board game, but this dark fantasy RPG is more about setting up the battlefield in typical Baldur's Gate style and executing on your plan. I should say D&D versus Baldur's Gate, you know what I mean. Anyway, it was fun while I played it. But again, this is not something you can learn in a few minutes. It was one of those games where like you need to just dedicate a ton of time to, and I didn't have adequate time to do that. So honorable mention, if you're into that sort of game, what I did play seemed fun. Anyway, that's what I got to play at SGF. I had been putting off making this video for so long, so thank you for putting up with me as I finally get around to making it, and I hope you check out some of the games on my list. Did I miss anything that you saw at SGF or you have seen lately that you're hyped for in 2025 or 2026? Let me know in the comments below. All right, apologies for that, chat. That was my script for... I'm going to unplug the camera. Let's see if it breaks it. It didn't break it. Good. Yeah, so that was my script for the SGF games. Let's see what happened to concurrence during that time. Did everybody bail? Yeah, we lost like 100 concurrence. So maybe something like that. I won't do it live anymore, as we still have a few news stories. As I said before, my wife is probably heading home soon. My wife wants me to go to the park and play with the kids. So that was my script. Thanks for watching, everybody. Let's do rapid fire. A few of these. So If you didn't hear, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, its Steam page is adding new features. Hopefully that means that's on the way. Super excited about this. There's going to be, that's not that big of a deal. The Mafia, the old country footage, I will probably react to that later. I could react to that this week. Video Games Europe issue statement. We talked about that. Oh, yeah. Don't play Call of Duty World War II on PC. Apparently, people are like getting hacked. Cyberpunk Edge Runners 2 officially confirmed at Anime Expo. I liked Gosuyote. Oh, this happened like right before I streamed. The copyright for Donkey Kong movie has been registered by Universal. Heck yeah, I'm down with a Donkey Kong movie. That sounds great. That sounds great in my opinion. And we covered everything else. So really the only thing I really, really wanted to get to was this thread, but I might actually just save that for later in the week, especially given the fact that there's just been a lot happening lately and I need more stuff to talk about. I want to get back. I was so happy with how it went at the front of this month when we were covering. I wasn't happy about the layoffs, but I was happy that I was able to make content for you all on a more reasonable cadence. And now that I can stop feeling guilty about any of my SGF coverage, I feel like I can move forward and I have some cool stuff that's getting booked in the background. So real quick, with the few people I have in chat, I asked at the front of the stream if I have a bunch of sponsorship offers. So in the coming days, if you see me playing a game and you don't like it, just realize I'm getting that bag. Chat, would you get that bag? I think you would get that bag. Should I get the bag or no? Because I'm going to. So buckle up. I respect y'all to be smart enough and recognize, oh, Destin took a sponsorship. Why would he do that? Money. But I trust, like, I'm not going to say anything I don't mean. Like, I'm never going to take a sponsorship where I'm like, X game is the best game I've ever played. It's my favorite game. Like, I'm not going to say that. Like, that's not how these things work, right? I'm going to play the game. I'll talk about the game that I've experienced. And that's it. And I would disclose it anyway. So yeah, but I want you to know, like, we did one with, what was the sponsored video I did this week? That video blew up, by the way. I was talking about the rumors from NeoGAF. And I think I was like, oh, I got to do the sponsored episode. I'll do that one with a sponsor episode. David, good to see you. And, it ended up like doing way better than it needed to. So thanks for watching that content. But yeah, I mean, full disclosure on the stream, nobody said, don't take the money, Destin. I'm not going to do anything that like I feel would be weird. Right. So yeah. You know, I've talked about it before with other people. Why Lord Zero, is that one a step too far? I've talked about it before on the stream before, but I always do my best to put hashtag ad at the top of, if it's one of those sponsorships where they're like, you have to do it during the video, then I'm like, I'm going to put hashtag ad on it. And then I send it for approval. I'm like, no, it's like an FTC requirement. And I also tag the video to say this video has branded content in it. So I trust you all to recognize that I am doing an ad read. Everybody on YouTube does these. And I trust my audience is intelligent enough to recognize that I am doing an ad read. And way back in the day, I did an ad read for Raycon. And please sponsor me again, Raycon, because it ended up that the headphones I was using, I'm way off on a tangent, I'm sorry. The headphones I ended up using I was having a good time with them and my wife wasn't like digging the Raycons. So then I took them over. I freaking love these headphones. Why, Sofa King? I watched the video. What's the big deal about that product, Sofa King? Because I don't get it. I watched the video and I'm just like, yeah, they do all the same thing everybody else does. I don't understand why it's problematic. Because Just saying. You do you, man. All my favorite YouTubers do ads. It's part of the business. All right, just checking. We should do the outro for the SGF video. And we can say goodbye for now, and I'll see you for the next one. We went 2.5 hours. I could have went longer today. It was just a good stream. I had good energy. Went to the beach with the kids. Yeah, wife's texting me again. Time to go, everybody. Thanks. Oh, we'll record it so I can use it later. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell to know when my content goes live. I do greatly appreciate all of you watching. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the members, Chris Ferretti, Phil Aroni, Spingater, and Aries EMS. If you want to support my independent venture, you can do so patreon.com/SaveStatePlus or by becoming a member here on YouTube. Just click that join button. It's right down there. Before I go, check out my preview of Resident Evil, which I also saw at SGF. It was not included in this video. I just made it a whole bespoke thing for it. And I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.